Hello, 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 hello. I know I'm like 2 hours late, but I didn't really see anything good because I was up early in the morning. I jumped on. I was like, man, there's not anything that steps out to me. So I went back to bed. And now I'm awake once again. So, welcome to another Dead by Daylight Creation Review. If you've noticed, I stopped listing dates on the end of them, and I've just been calling them creation reviews. So what, which I never went over this, but what I think I'm going to start doing is, if I go over any type of subject that's mildly interesting or entertaining or anything like that, I'm either going to name the review after that person, their actual concept and all of that. If it's like, super off the wall, kicking, amazing. If it's all right and it's not a repeat of the same thing that I do every single day, then I might put a date at the end of it. If it's all right, if it's amazing, they get their own thing. I'll fill in the description and everything. If it's all right, I'll put a date on the end of it. And if it's just generic, hey, Q's getting on and talking about the same things that he's always talking about, then there's not going to be anything else put on it. I'm not going to put a date or anything else. So that is kind of a indirect identifier, unless I forget to change it. But that's a direct identifier, so you know that, hey, if there's no date on this, Q didn't really cover anything important that day. I shouldn't waste my time watching that jank video. But we're gonna hop back in. We have Ryan the narrator, who generally gets angry about things and gets over defensive. Turquoise is posted or has posted 4 different concepts. Well, this one's one that's been brought back from the depths. This one's been brought back from the depths. So these are either brought back from the depths or these are 4 different things. Regardless, what's going on, Galanonim? It's not very savvy to see 4 different posts brought up back to back to back to back. It's not very savvy. Which I got up early. I looked, I seen this, and then I said, yeah, I'm going back to bed. It's gonna be a very good day. Just while I'm kinda half stalling. This guy gets overprotective about his work and ends up arguing with everybody. This guy's posted 4 posts all at once. It just kind of makes you say, why? Anyway, let's hop on into this. It's just a suggesting idea perks for killers and survivors. Even though there's an entire thing open by a mod. Entire whole thing where he could have posted his suggestions and everything for a perk. Instead of asking people or suggesting things, he could have just went in here, posted it where everybody else posted it, and went on his day. Alright. Looks like survivors have 9 perks. Killers have 7 perks. Ryan the narrator, Ryan the NCR. Did this guy literally come in on a different account and comment on his own stuff? Alrighty then. Very weird. First, checkpoint. Your practice for patching up damages makes you a professional. After pairing your generator from 0 to 100%, checkpoint activates for 40 seconds. The regressed generator with the least progressions or will be highlighted to you. Grants a 20% repair speed boost on the highlighted generator while checkpoint is activated. The regressed generator with the least progressions aura. Why would you want to know the generator that's been knocked down the most? Because if I'm reading this right, a generator that's regression with the least progression on it would be the lowest generator in the lobby that's regressing. You would think you would want a regress generator with the highest progression rate. That's what you would be looking for, so you can just knock it out and get it done, but not the one with the least progression. And then the 20% repair speed boost is absolutely positively ridiculous. So, checkpoint, nah, brother. Like I said, I'm going over Ryan the narrator. All he does with argue is people. So I'm not going to give any suggestions on how he can fix it or anything like that. I'm just going to go through, say yay or nay, and go to the next subject. Familiarity. After sabotaging a hook with a toolbox. Why not just say after sabotaging a hook? Period. Their auras will be revealed to you after they were repaired by the entity. Repaired hooks will leave irreparable damage when tapped. Okay, that's just a borrowed part that's been reworked and turned bad. Code Flesh. Your carefulness after being freed will prevent your captor from being notified after a survivor unhooks you or you have unhooked yourself. Code Flesh will prevent the killer from being notified for 4 seconds until a loud noise notification has been displayed after you have been unhooked. What? One, I wouldn't call it Code Flesh. I would add that it would just add that the killer won't be notified on your unhooked to slippery meat. Or Deliverance. One of those two. That's all you have to do is just add an effect to an existing perk instead of doing this, which makes absolutely no sense. So why make an entirely new perk when you can just say, hey, add this to this perk? Next. Reservation. Taking breaks by blah 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 after repairing generators for a total of 80% of its progress. Reservation activates. Crouching or standing still on the ground motionless for 8 seconds will help you recover from the exhaustion status effect instantly. Reservation will reset after once this perk has successfully activated. Well, by the time you get 80% generator progress, you're going to already be recovered through most exhaustion effects. Because I'm pretty sure 80% is somewhere around a minute. So, this actually doesn't make any type of sense. Camaraderie. Oh no, flashbacks. Oh no. Oh, it is the next perk, camaraderie. That's funny. So reservation is actually pointless. By the time you activate reservation doing 80% of a generator, your exhaustion status effect is gone. So you really don't have to worry about that. Also, the smarter thing to do with this particular perk is instead of crouching and standing still, just make it to where if you're walking, you recover faster. If you're standing still, you recover even faster. Instead of just doing it in an instant. Camaraderie already takes the perk of this is the name of an already previous perk. So that's just an instantaneous no. I'm not even going to read it and take my time on it. It's probably stupid anyway. Mechanic. Increases repair speed without a toolbox for 5%. That's literally 4 extra seconds at the end of a generator. The efficiency on toolboxes while repairing generators was increased to 20%. What do you mean by efficiency? Is what I want to know. Because I mean, from 1 to 1.2 a second, you ain't saving a huge amount. I'm gonna guess and say you'll save maybe like 15 seconds or so off of a generator towards the end of that. But sure. Code flash could prevent noise notification, not delay it, to be honest. Is that what he meant by that? Is delay it? Prevent the killer from being notified for 4 seconds until a loud noise notification has been displayed after you have been unhooked. I'm glad you can understand it. But yeah, Code Flash, just add it to an existing perk. It's such a passive thing, like putting it on slippery meat. No, you're right. I just thought when I first read it that, yeah, it prevents it for 4 seconds. I see what you see there. I didn't understand it the first time I read it through. I took it very literal, and I thought it prevented noise for 4 seconds after you get unhooked. So if you got unhooked and then you like jumped a window or something like that immediately after being unhooked, it stopped the noise from happening for that general time. So you got no unhooked noise and you got no other noise that you made until 4 seconds. That's how I took it. But you took it as it just prevents the noise for 4 seconds and then boom, it pops up. Yeah, you're correct. All it does is just delay it. Not very noteworthy of making it a perk. Definitely just slap it on slippery meat or something like that that actually does need a buff and what it does. Strong fighter. Pallet pulling speed was increased to 30% and stuns killer 25% longer. Useless. Pallet pulling speed does not matter. As soon as you click that button, the killer is getting stunned. Yeah, there's an animation and everything that goes on it, but The killer gets stunned regardless. As soon as you click the button, if they're within that vicinity, the game checks to see if they're there. If they're there, bam, they take it. There's no need to increase the speed. Only thing you're going to do is screw yourself over by increasing the speed. The more speed that the pallet has on slamming, the closer the killer is actually going to have to be for you to get these pallet stuns. So, there's that. Stunning killer for 25% longer. Why? Just use smash hit. You'll get the stun and you'll get a little speed boost at the end of it. Instead of delaying the killer, speed up the survivor. It keeps the game moving in its regular flow. Dark Sight. The sense of dark spirits will heighten your senses on objective. Dark Sight will activate when you're cursed by a hex. When repairing a generator, no skill checks will be triggered, and the auras of survivors will be revealed to you within a 50-meter range. The killer's aura will only be revealed to you if it is 14 meters closer to a survivor. That is absolutely dumb. Why would the killer's aura have to do with anything about that? You want killer's aura, you have to take the 50-50 with Object of Obsession. Or every 30 seconds, your location's going to be ping. Or you can run a key. And whenever you use your key, you'll be able to see their aura. You shouldn't be able to see the killer's auras when you're on generators. That don't make sense. You shouldn't be able to see the auras of other survivors the entire time while on generators. That don't make any sense. It makes the game trivial and easy. Easy claps on killer. Because you know you can stick a generator, and whenever the killer's headed your particular direction, you know to get out of dodge. You're taking away the horror aspect by using sight. Shell Shock. You sense the fear when you are frightened. After failing a skill check, the killer, who is farther than 40 meters from the generator you're repairing, will be revealed to you for 5 seconds. Why should you get any type of reward for failing a skill check? Absolutely not. Oh, I'm going to fail a skill check on purpose during this 3-gen situation to see where the killer is. And I'm also going to be able to distract him and make him come over to this generator I'm not working at. And I'm also going to be able to call out his position to my friends. Or see where his position is. Oh, he's there and he's on his way over. Okay, guys, jump on the 3G or the other generator. I'll keep him busy. Finish it. Or, oh, he's going around Kill Shack Wall. He's faking. He's going back in. He's going around. Oh, he's going to the other loop. He's cutting you off. Turn around and go the other way. Like, no. Do not make it to where you can ever see the killer's aura, especially if they're near another survivor, aka chasing. Gank squads are going to have a lovely time with that. Survive with friends are going to have a lovely time with that. Randoms that are just generally scared of the particular game are going to love it. Especially if you're running Dark Sight and Shell Shock together. Actually, most of these perks, if you run them together with each other, you get just this untouchable, just ridiculous amount of value. Oh boy. Fractured Wound. Mangled status effect. Reducing 20% can stack up to 100%. Affects each survivor you hit. No. Shaken Fear. For each hook, survivor will gain a token. All survivors get 5% stackable penalty up to 45. That's just phobia. But dumb. Nonambophobia. Also, let me just throw this out here. He didn't do the math. Let me go back to Shake and Fear. For each hook survivor, or for each hook, the survivor will gain a token. All survivors get a 5% stackable penalty up to 45. What times what is 45? 9 times 5 is 45. Why do you need a 45% repair speed reduction at 9 hooks? At 9 hooks, the the hatch will come open. And when the hatch is closed, the endgame collapse begins and the exit gates open. So his maximum should not be anywhere near 45%. Because on that hook, you're no longer getting anything. At 45%, the perk basically is deactivated here. So, there's, he didn't do the math on that. He just did basic math. He didn't go back in and look at his particular perk or anything like that. Max stacks that you can get on this perk that makes sense without the perk deactivating would be 40%. 40% repair speed penalty that can't be taken care of, can't be gotten rid of, or anything like that is just unfair to survivors, especially if it keeps remaining stackable. You would run this with that Nophobia, and survivors wouldn't be able to do generators. Why this is a huge no. Nonambophobia. After you hook a survivor, other survivors within 38 meters away from the hook will start screaming and revealing the location. Use infectious fright. So when you down a survivor, you get the locations and things like that of any survivors that are in the general area. There's a reason why they didn't make infectious fright on hook. Because on hook, it is now the survivor's time to try to unhook this particular survivor and try to save them. If they're screaming, or if you're making survivors scream within a huge range of 38 meters, any survivor trying to make the particular save will be revealed to you. You're obviously going to either camp or immediately pursue them to go after them in a chase, creating a whole bunch of other additional problems to survivors. It's the reason why you hear the screams before, so you know, hey, there's a survivor in the area. So if you're running Starstruck or something like that, you know, you can drop the survivor and chase an additional survivor, giving them time to recover, which is fair. Or you can continue to hook and then head in that direction and try and intercept the survivor. But by that time that you've picked them up and moved them and hooked them and things like that, that survivor's probably moved from where they were. And it becomes still the, you know, hide and seek or cat and mouse aspect of the game. It keeps the game flowing. As opposed to, oh, I'm going to hide behind this rock, and as soon as the killer leaves, I'm going to pull my friend. Oh, I just screamed, now I'm being chased. You think about balancing and things like that and look at the other perks in the game, you will definitely figure things like that out. Ever ask yourself why? Why is this perk implemented in this way and not in this other way? Boom. And then there's more. Nanobophobia will be applied to them for 100 seconds. Survivors will be facing difficult skill checks for repairing generators and healing survivors. 30% additional progress will be lost on failed skill checks while this effect is active. And then you just kept adding and kept adding and kept adding to a bad idea, making it even worse. Voodoo doll. Victims will receive punishments for their own protective instincts. After the obsession is unhooked by a survivor, Voodoo doll activates for 60 seconds. Both the obsession and the rescuer will take damage once. From healthy to injured, and from injured to dying state, to deep wound to the other one. Either you hit one of them with your basic attack. So you're telling me that if I unhook the obsession and a legion comes running through and taps one of us, both of us is going to get the deep wound status effect. That legion can then tap another one of us and down us immediately. Suffer like a 5-second cooldown, 4 or 5-second cooldown, and she already has a down, and the other person's in the deep wound status effect. Or even worse, if Bubba comes through and Bubba's camping basement and I go for that unhook, Bubba comes in, chainsaw one of us, we both fall over. Or Ghostface sneaks up on one of us and marks us and hits one of us. We're both going down. I don't think this perk was very well thought through. Finally, a Legion buff. I mean, it would be an interesting add-on for Legion. It'll also help the chaining effect. If a survivor rescues another survivor, when you chain off of that one, it gives it to the other survivor for one hit. Obviously, it would prevent you from downing them for like X amount of time afterwards, so you would still have to run and chain, but I mean, applying it to 2 people ain't too shabby. On the other hand, what if he rescues his friend using borrowed time and the guy comes through and hits him? Do they both now get borrowed time, or is one gonna take damage and the other one have a shield? You know? That's also an interesting play on this particular perk. Because if you want to keep them at the same state, if he hits the shielded one, they both should be shielded. But where there's good, there also has to be bad. This would be interesting if there was a voodoo killer who was fairly slow, but got his power from stitching survivors together. So one survivor gets exhausted, the others gets exhausted, one gets hit, another one gets hit, etc., etc. Very interesting. This perk, though, is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Roaming Hound. For each survivor who is uninjured, whenever you are outside of a chase, gain a stackable 2% increased movement speed up to 8%. The Hound's eye will permanently deactivate once the exit gates are powered. Gonna go to bed. Have to wake up early. But you know, thanks for stopping by, Galanonim. It's nice to see you. See ya. So for each survivor that is uninjured and you are not in a chase, you gain a stackable 2% increase in speed up to 8%. That would take you from 4.6 to essentially a little bit under 5. So you would be a zooming boy until you entered a chase. That is where the importance of that comes, until you enter a chase. This can be exploited. I would make it until you are within a range, a specific range of a survivor. the perk deactivates. One, you'll get that, hey, there's a survivor nearby because my perk just deactivated. Kind of sense. And two, you won't be able to exploit this because you're not technically considered in a chase until you are looking directly at a survivor and they go in within a specific line, like a specific angle of you. As long as you're not running towards them or anything like that, or they don't run across your vision path, you'll keep that speed boost. So you could run all the way up to a generator just by not looking at it, then turn and get that slap. You know, like the fakes people do and things like that. To keep that speed boost most of the way. Confinement. When the exit gates are powered, confinement activates. For each survivor who is still alive has a stackable 16% reduced gate opening speed, up to 64%. Confinement effects will not stack if each survivor were carried, hooked, or in a dying state. For each survivor who is still alive gets reduced in speed. Confinement effects will not stack if each survivor was carried, hooked, or in a dying state. So you're saying it loses effect when a survivor's... Does it lose effect, during it? Like you have a 64% of all four are alive, and as soon as you pick one up, or down them, pick them up, or hook them, they lose that stackable 16% off the stack? Or are you saying that the perk loses effect for each survivor that is carried, hooked, or in the dying state throughout the game? Because if you're losing it for each survivor that's carried, hooked throughout the game, then you're not gonna have much of an effect. Because you should have at least a hook on 3 different survivors throughout the entire thing, unless you're being just chased. Like the entire game for 5 generators. Also, 64%, that is crazy. Because the exit gates take like what, 15-20 seconds to actually open? And you're adding another up to another 64%. So let's do half of 20. It'll be somewhere over 30 seconds. Actually, it'll be somewhere around 35 seconds, like 34, 35 extra seconds to open an exit gate. And that's kind of insane, especially if you mix confinement with the Trickster's perk and Blood Warden and Noad to have an end game just clap everybody. So you could run Confinement, Blood Warden, Trickster's perk, you can run Noad, or if you want to just get it done as quick as possible, replace one of those with Rancor. Because Rancor will immediately give you one kill when you run across that particular survivor. Which will probably be the first one you go at because the ore reveal will show you, but you know. So, definitely should think about doing the math on how long you want to delay an exit gate opening. Because that perk can be absolutely positively insane if stacked with other things. I don't remember if the Trickster perk blocks it. I think it's per token. So I think you can actually get up to 30 to 60 seconds with the Trickster's perk. I want to say 30, but something says 60 in the back of my mind, and always go with your instincts. So the Trickster's perk, very, very strong. Then this perk completely just destroys survivors' hopes of ever getting exit speed or exit gates open, because killer will be able to run back and forth. 25% tech is useless, because as soon as that light pops up, killer now knows that you're in that particular area. I don't know. Endgame builds OP, essentially. Spike wall. Like Pyramid Head's walls. After you hook a survivor, Spike wall activates for 40 seconds. The entity will surround the hook that the survivor was on, preventing other survivors to rescue the hooked survivor, and disables the attempt escape action until the spike wall timer ends. Spike wall also pauses the sacrifice progress on first and second stages while this perk is active. Why would you ever want a survivor's sacrifice timer to pause, except for, obviously, like in 3-gen situations? But I mean, at the end of the game, that's why slugging is such a high risk versus high reward. If you have 2 survivors left and you slug down 1 survivor, you're hoping that they don't have, Unbreakable or anything else, or Soul Guard, or, anything that allows them to get back up. You're also hoping that they don't crawl away where you can't find them, or that they don't find a hatch as they're down, and you're heading over to the other, or finding the other survivor. You're also hoping that the other survivor don't juke you and then get their other buddy up. So it still becomes that cat and mouse game. With this, you're just making it to where you can just plop a survivor on the hook, and then you start this timer of where you have 40 seconds to run around and find wherever this last particular survivor is. So you're extending it from 60 seconds to 100 seconds to find this other survivor. Why do that when you can just slug and let things go? I mean, some people would love this spike wall perk. Absolutely, positively love it. Also, if this isn't his second account, then this is that other guy that I was talking about the other day that got banned. And he just made another account copying somebody else's account. If it is, that's probably ban evasion, and he probably needs to be taken care of for good. But I'll let behavior deal with that. I'm not a moderator, so I'm not going to take the time to check his IP and see if it's the same, and then reban him. Well, I would hardware ban him at that point. There wouldn't be just an IP ban, because obviously he's just going to get around it. I'd hardware ban him if it was that guy on ban evasion. Could be the op coming back in trying to be funny. Not a smart idea if it is the op to expose his second account like that, though. Because if he ever gets banned on his main or his secondary, it could trickle back up to his main. I don't know. Spike Wall has its uses, but not really. Because, I mean, if it's a blocked hook and all of this other things, you would assume. I guess it could be like it would go well with delaying Blood Warden's activation. So if you hook a survivor way back when, and as you're running around, a survivor opens up the exit door, within those 40 seconds, Blood Warden could then activate, and you might be able to snatch one. But there aren't very many situations where Spiked Wall could be used in. Sure, we'll go with that feedback. That seemed fairly quick. 41 minutes. Nice. Please add Sam from Trick or Treat to DBD. That is an interesting thing. That looks like a demented sack boy from Little Big Planet. And that would be hilarious. This is the first concept I made, released on New Year's Day. He'd be an outstanding addition to DBD roster. If you can add Victor to the game, Sammy would be no problem. LOL. Well, I mean, they could add a killer stick to the game. The models and all of that aren't that big of an issue. The height and all of that, the scaling, all of that's handled by a completely different department. It's the implementations, or the implementation of the killers, skills, stats, everything that they do, how they're going to move around, their speed, etc., etc., is what's hard. And you're not, he said, this is the first chapter concept I made. There is no chapter concept here. This is you just asking them to add somebody to DBD. Make an actual chapter concept. You know? Make a chapter concept. Give us your ideas. Give us your implementation of it. Don't just beg somebody to do something for you. Do it yourself. And if it's good enough and well met, then it can be implemented into the game. This should be moved to the suggestions forum. Like the mods actually have a reason to just take this and put it in the suggestions and feedbox area. Because this is not a chapter concept. Is this the scarecrow that I think it is, or this the different and then the night. Okay. And then the attraction. And then the dryad. So no, all of these are different from the other concepts that I've seen or reviewed. It's just the same names. Problem is he posted all of his ideas that popped into his weird old head. without even thinking the ideas through fully. Now, this is the type of trash that I hate seeing. All of these released one after another. Put them all into one post. How hard is it? If you're going to release multiple things in a row, put them in one post. Hey, here are my killer ideas. Taking up all of these different things for this little bit on each one ain't very savvy. Now, if you listed 4 different killers in one post, okay, that's material to go over. None of it's going to be completely finished, but you know, it's 4 different concepts to roll with that can be adapted. Everybody would go in, give you feedback on all 4, and whichever one that they like, you could make a full concept over. Now you're just fishing for ideas, things like that. But to say killer concept and to make 4 different posts in a row like that, and then when you click on any of them, it's not even a full concept, it's not thought out, it's not anything like that. You literally just posted whatever your mind thought at that particular time was cool, and then you went on to the next one. Yeah. If you're not going to waste your time or use your time wisely going over and refining these, why should I waste my time going back into these and give you a proper review? I can review all of these by not even going into them. They're not very well thought out. They don't have enough detail. They all probably need to be reworked because they're probably altering or changing the game's mechanics, or they're too similar to another killer that already exists. Or they're just way too OP. So they probably need to be worked, even as short as they are. And that probably goes for all 4 because they weren't really thought out. They were just things thrown on paper, paint thrown at the wall, just to see, you know, what kind of design would pop out. I'm not wasting my time going over these. I'm sorry. It's not happening. Hopefully, somebody in the forum will take the time to go over each and individual one of these, and they will give you some sort of constructive feedback instead of, oh, looks cool, and then presses the up button. But no, if I see somebody from now and for forever that posts multiple posts back to back like this, I'm skipping all of them. Yet another FNAF chapter concept. There's 2. There's lore here and perks. Lore here, power, and perks. Where's the power? Glamrock Pat or Glamrock Freddy. Where's the power? Perk, perk, perk. Oh, you want a survivor to be Glamrock Freddy. Well, in that case, the survivor would be. Wouldn't the survivor be Gregory? Because he was the survivor of the game. Glamrock Freddy was just an assistant that helped him. And then towards the end of the game, Glamrock Freddy was able to be manipulated by Afton. So I don't think this would work as a concept because Afton would just possess Freddy and then Freddy would go slaughtering all the other survivors. And that would kind of be the end of that. You make the survivor either Vanessa, if you want to make it like an adult playable character. Everybody knows Vanessa was kind of corrupted by, well, Afton too, in the form of glitched, whatever the bunny's name is. I don't remember. But it was Afton's conscience that corrupted Vanny. At least that's lore crafting and lore theories, what that says. Glitch Trap. Glitch Trap. That's the name of it. So, I don't know if I'd like Glamrock Freddy as a survivor. Freddy is like 7 feet tall. You would be able to see Freddy over the majority of obstacles in the way during a trial. So Freddy would always be running around and always going down. Gregory is for the most part too short. He would be shorter than most obstacles, so he would be able to run, which means he would have to have a different base running speed because he's able to sit underneath things. So the only person you could really implement is Vanessa and or her possibly twin sister. Or, you know, the night guard like everybody else throws in, or William Afton before he went poof. No, Michael Afton. Because I doubt Scott Cawthorn will want to be in your game. So if you can get his permission, you could just throw him in there. But I doubt you'll be able to get his permission for a different game franchise. But good luck. Anyway, perks, my superstore. When you are within 16 meters of the obsession, you and the obsession gain a 15% speed to all actions. If you or the obsession are injured, dying, or hooked, you gain an extra 5% speed. Decreases your chance of becoming an obsession. So if you run that, Fine Chill, Dwight's perks, and everything else, you can finish generators unreasonably fast. I don't think a 15% increase to all actions on just the obsession is worth it, honestly. Recharge. Every time you work on a gen for 20 seconds or unhook a survivor, Recharge gains a token with a maximum of 4 tokens. You are affected by any status effects. Press the active ability button to remove all current status effects and consume a token. Recharge can only be used every 30 seconds. Should be automatic. When you get a particular effect, and this effect should not be able to remove the exhaustion status effect. As a matter of fact, it should cause the exhaustion status effect after using that. So you can't just get 4 tokens, dead hard, recover, dead hard, recover, dead hard, recover. And I think that it should activate automatically to prevent particular effects being popped upon you. It shouldn't be able to negate exposed, and it shouldn't be able to negate exhaustion. Those two should exist. Now, hindered and mangled and all these other kinds of different status effects, and oblivious, fine. I mean, it's par for the course. But the two main ones, no, it shouldn't be able to. Well, I mean, if it's like the plague's permanent broken status, you'll be kind of dividing by 0 and breaking your game anyway, trying to do something like that, so. Or NOAD. You tried to prevent the exposed status effect from NOAD. You would be dividing by 0. Now, an interesting idea that you could do is instead of removing, and not all current status effects, it should be 1 token per status effect, but instead of removing them completely, you should make it to where you consume a token and it temporarily goes away. So if you are exposed by NOAD and you're running around and you think you're going to get hit within the next couple of seconds, you can activate this particular or consume a token, take a hit, and then continue to move along, and you regain the exposed status effect. Obviously, it's going to have to be extremely quick. Or like if a legion comes and hits you, you can hold the button in as he hits you and be able to delay the deep wound status effect or anything like that. But I don't know. It's just a off the top of my head idea. Obviously, it needs more wording and more implementation around it, but today is not the day. Boom. Parts and service. Boom. Survivors within Boon Totem have their items replenished by 80% if they are in the range of the totem for 10 seconds. Now, this should only activate once per item. If you don't put a hard limit on that, people are just going to totem up around generators, and they're going to use their toolbox on the generator. When the toolbox runs out, they're going to work on the generator regularly by hand, and the toolbox is going to come back in 10 seconds, and then they're going to work on it with toolbox. It's going to go away, they're going to do it by hand. Generator speeds are going to go absolutely bonkers, especially if there's multiple survivors working on those. It's the reason why nobody's touched the built the last thing and tried to add it to a boon totem yet. I mean, it's people have, but there's a reason why behavior hasn't tried the boon totem built the last. If they did, it would definitely have to be reduced down to at least a 50% charge, and it'd have to have limits on it. Because that would be ridiculous, getting 80% of charges by standing in the range of a totem for 10 seconds. That is absurd. Also, you should do the particular math if you haven't already. 80% sound or looks like you did particular math. But something tells me if I did the 80% charges on multiple items, I wouldn't come out with anything too feasible. Alright. Springtrap. His power is spring locks. When close to a pallet, window, or generator, press and hold the active ability to give it the lock status effect. Anyone who interacts with a locked object will gain the lock status effects. And the item that was once locked will lose the status effect. This will hinder their speed by 10% for 10 seconds. Not 10 seconds. Lower. Survivors who are locked will be unable to interact with other objects or loops that are locked and will have a 5% decrease to gen and healing speeds. If a survivor is in the dying state and they are afflicted with the lock status effect, use the active ability button to cause them to be shut down. You can't just shut down a survivor. Jesus Christ. The survivor will be held in Springlock Prison, which counts as hook states. The auras of the Springlock prisons will not be shown to you, but other survivors will be able to see the aura of it. I mean, you'll be literally right next to them, and you'll be the one that downed them. So you'll know where they are. Just if you leave, you'll have to remember where they are. Any survivor can set free the survivor that is in prison, and the survivors that are locked will lose their status effect if they unhook the survivor. Once the survivor is free, the Springlock prison will turn into a station. Locked survivors can interact with these stations for 10 seconds to free themselves. If a dying survivor has the lock status effect on a death hook, you can kill the survivor. A mini Mori? Really? We're adding in mini Moris again? I thought we were past this. um, obviously, you need to rethink this and redo all of this. It don't make sense. Having the power be spring locks. Spring locks are a part of the suit that locks the particular animatronic frame into place to keep them from crushing the individual that's inside of them. That's why when the spring locks fails, they go chang, and then pieces are jammed into the human body, and they are mangled. And yeah, better than fried chicken. How are you going to spring lock an object that isn't inside of something? The pallets are out in the open. If you put a spring lock on something and it activates and goes pew, I mean, it might hurt a little bit, but it's not going to go through your finger. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to do anything. It's going to pop like a spring. Boing! And that's going to be the end of it. It's not a sticky device. It's not anything like that. How are you going to spring lock somebody in a spring lock prison if you're not shoving them into particular suits? So instead of just having all of these random effects and things turning into other things, why not just make specific hooks in the match be suits that you can just shove people into? And you would get the same effect. As opposed to locking them in place wherever they are, make it to where you just throw them into a scourge hook. Sort of like, but redone as a suit. And then you keep the Five Nights of Freddy, him taking people and shoving them in suits, and they getting damage done to them. You can have a special hook that has spring locks and things like that ticking down, and you can do a whole bunch of other Five Nights of Freddy shenanigans. A survivor comes over, and you can either show the animation of them picking up, taking off the head and taking off the arms or all of that, Or you can just do the regular survivor does hand movements and survivor just phases out of it or comes out of suit. The suit falls over, whatever. And there you go. Power spring locks. Changes some hooks into suits. You throw survivor into suit. It now takes 10 seconds or whatever, however much time it takes to get survivor off of hook as opposed to the instantaneous unhook. Since that is his only power, it would probably be more acceptable through the community. I mean, there's other spring trap ideas that are a lot more defined and well thought out, of course. They'll probably win out over yours, but if you manage to win this particular battle between different spring traps, it's something. Because this sub-top's unusable as it sits. Perk-wise, shut down. Every time you turn a healthy survivor to injured, they're afflicted with the broken status effect for 60 seconds. That don't make any sense. Besides sprint burst, you are nerfing every other activatable effect that you could use or that you would use. So what you're literally saying is if you're not using sprint burst, you cannot use any other exhaustion perks. Secondly, why is your scaling from 60 to 50 and to 40 instead of your actual shutdown having just a singular cooldown on it and the status effect being the thing that actually scales? Because the cooldown's going to be the same, should be the same regardless of that 60 seconds. Because you're giving them a significant status effect. How long the status effect lasts is what you would want to scale there. And you definitely don't want it 60 seconds of broken. Because you're literally no-mithering a survivor. Or not exhausted, broken. Broken. You're no-mithering a survivor for 60 seconds. They didn't sign up for the no-mither thing or they'd be using the perk. Giving them the broken for, you know, a scaling amount of time, which I'd say take about a third of that and go probably even less than that. Probably even less than 20 seconds to get all of that done and sent through. Keep the activations at every 60 seconds because, I mean, you're applying a significant status effect on everybody. I don't know why I read that as exhaustion. It's broken. I mean, it still has the problem of preventing survivors from being able to use any type of perk still. Let it heal them, etc., etc. But same premise, just different status effect. Scourge Hook Remnant. You will make sure they feel what you feel. At the start of a trial, Scourge Hooks. Hooking a survivor in a Scourge Hook will give them the broken status effect for 60 seconds once they are unhooked, and will give them a 10% healing speed decrease. Really, you have two perks that are gonna afflict the broken status effect. So because your killer has no power, you're going to just keep giving broken status effect on broken status effect on broken status effect. When they get unhooked, they'll have the broken status effect. Well, if they get hit before they go down, they'll have the broken status effect for 60 seconds. When they get unhooked, they'll re-get the broken status effect, which would make this the ultimate camping killer, or the ultimate tunneling killer, whichever way you decide to go with that. What you're not understanding, sir, is every single perk that you try to incorporate into the game goes for all killers. On that dinky killer, that really has no power, this means nothing too. On killers that actually have usable powers, yeah, these are significant perks. Very, very, very significant perks. Could you imagine some of the killers that can just run around, just tapping people, putting them in the broken status effect? Then after you down them, you hook them. Especially like my primary example, Bubba in the basement with the chainsaw. He hits you, you get the broken status effect. He hooks you, you're gonna stay broken forever. He hooks you, you're broken. Or he hooks you, you're good until after you're unhooked. When you get unhooked and a survivor tries to save you from basement, you get the broken status effect. So as you try to escape, he's going to hit your survivor buddy, who's probably gonna take a hit off of you. Unless he just chainsaws you both back down. But you're giving the Bubba the option to just mouse one somebody as opposed to chainsawing them both. Kind of ridiculous. Backup plan, hex wise. Every time 50% of a generator is done, hex backup plan gets a token, up to 5 tokens. You can consume a token to cause the survivor's aura to be revealed to you for 6 seconds, or when you kick a generator, the gen regresses an extra 10%. Again, you're giving Camp and Bubba Basement the ability to see auras for 6 seconds. And he gets a token every time 50% of a generator is done. So you're giving him 2 hints of useful knowledge there. 1, he'll know exactly how many generators are getting done as he's down there camping, and if he needs to move out, go, or do whatever else. And he's also getting aura reading to see if anybody's even coming for this particular unhook, if survivors are actually using their gen time. So you're giving Camp and Bubba very good intel on whether or not he needs to get back to basement and mow somebody down, or whether he can leave basement because nobody's coming for this particular person. This is terrifying. This perk, 110% terrifying. They gotta do 5 generators so he can have a maximum of 10 tokens. That is 60 seconds worth of ore reading. Or if he just decides to go and kick generators to extend time. Because, I mean, he can stay at the end until after you get, well, he'd want to use a token before then. If he uses 1 token, as soon as you get 3 gens done, and you're down to your last 2, he can save up his tokens to get ore reading and things like that, and he can just keep regressing generators over and over and over and over and over. Especially if he manages to get a 3-gen situation by using the ore reading and just keeping survivors off particular gens. When that first survivor dies or whatever, and he gets 3 gens lined up next to each other, they are screwed. Because any time that any generator gets completed beyond 50%, he's going to get a token. And he's just going to have to run over to that particular generator, kick it, which is going to regress it like 13%. And then go on with his life. And if they touch it again, he goes back over and he kicks it back down, getting that extra 10% regression per token. And he can just keep kicking generators as he goes near them and regressing them. And every time 50% goes back, or it goes back up to 50%, he gets a token back. See the exploits there? You kick generator, they build it up to 50, you get token, you kick generator. They build it back up, you get token, you kick generator. And there will be nothing that they can do. And if multiple survivors try to work on it and they go beyond that 50%, you can just keep getting ore reads. Or start getting ore reads to find out which generators or which areas survivors are hiding in. And you can easily just clean out when you need to clean up. This took me 4 hours. Really. You spent probably 3.5 of those 4 hours looking up things about their lore. So to be fair, this concept, the actual important parts of the concept, took about half an hour to make. 3.5 hours was spent doing research. So, putting down unnecessary research, that's kind of on you and shouldn't be put into actual concept worked on hours. So you can see he puts wiki links, he puts all the timestamps, everything else, the timelines, reviews. He even watched a YouTube video, which the time he spent doing that was probably added on to his creation time, which shouldn't be. I mean, it's impressive that you would spend 4 hours on something. And that's probably where you got the upvotes for, well, that being FNAF. And that you actually took the time to spend time on it. I congratulate you for spending time and getting your everything done and all. But if you would have spent 3 hours on your particular concept, the nitty gritty things, the perks, the power, and things like that, and an hour on lore and things like that, you would have had a amazing concept. Just a hugely just mwah, like just absolute banger. But unfortunately, it was the other way around. 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours was spent on research, and half an hour was spent on the concept. Don't get me wrong. Everybody loves Springtrap, and I'm a fan of Five Nights at Freddy as well. And I wouldn't mind seeing Springtrap and things like that. Sure, why not? People really think Ghostface add-ons are overpowered, huh? Interesting. I don't even run add-ons. But I mean, most of Ghostface's things are you walk faster while crouching, you mark people faster while leaning, things like that. There's nothing anywhere that really supplements his power to make you go ding. So I would love to have actual useful add-ons and not just you crouch faster, you mark faster, you do this faster. Like I would actually want some usability or some uniqueness, I guess is what I should say, not usability, some uniqueness to the particular killer. Funny how people say that Ghostface is overpowered, but if you go to a YouTube video, they're all like, Ghostface is Not that powerful. He's useless. He's just a mouse one killer. He's this and that and another. You go to the creation forum and everybody's like, nah, bro, Ghostface is OP. I play Ghostface. Ghostface is OP. I don't run add-ons on my Ghostface, and I've gotten rid of entire iridescent lobbies. I've gotten rid of Gank Squad. I've gotten rid of a whole bunch of stuffs. Ghostface is an extremely strong killer regardless of what people say. The people that don't know how to use his abilities appropriately are the ones that say that he suck. The ones that hop into stealth, chase a survivor, and then keep chasing a survivor trying to run around like a mouse one killer. The ones that don't know the undetectable fakes and things like that and use their actual stealth to find out where survivors' locations are. You know, the smart boys. People who are smart can use Ghostface very effectively to figure out what they want to find out. People who ain't smart complain that he's not a very good killer, which happens most of the time in Dead by Daylight. Well, this killer sucks. They're not very good. It's like, yeah, but have you seen a main play that particular character? Look at the power that this killer has. Now we're back here. Great idea, but this needs to be a way to get tiers of investigation back. Losing parts of your power permanently is a recipe for disaster. Also, the add-on format is incorrect. The correct format is 4 common, 5 uncommon, 5 rare, 4 very rare, 2 ultra rare. What are you talking about, dude? You don't have to follow the base game on the number of add-ons. I thought I was nitpicky about some things, but no, this guy is a moron. An absolutely, positively moron. You don't need to have 4 common, 5 uncommon, 5 rare, 4 very rare, and 2 ultra rare. That's why most of the things in regular Dead by Daylight is you get a speed increase of a little bit, you get a speed increase of a medium amount, you get a speed increase of a large amount. Like, no, if you consolidate everything together, you can get out a decent set of add-ons and not have to repeat add-ons over and over and over and over. The whole point of them sometimes going out far this way is because they need something to fluff their blood web with. They're just fluffing. This person apparently don't know anything about fluffing and things like that. Then he's one of the guys that just points out a bad thing, but he never made any type of suggestion on how he could fix or do anything else. No ideas about it. Here, he says the add-on format is incorrect. The correct format is this. He gives information here. It's irrelevant, but he does give information here. But on the thing about his actual concept, besides saying it's a great idea and not anything that you like about it, he just says this and doesn't have any type of constructive criticism, any type of informative information, or anything that this creator can use during his thing. I went over this particular concept in fairly good detail when I went over it before. So if you want to see the cosmonaut, I think that was his name, the cosmonaut. Well, the spaceman, but it's the cosmonaut from Scooby-Doo. Cosmonaut. Go look at my previous video. It's there. Everything that I said about this particular thing is there. And that is a full white of the particular board, which is what I was trying to do today. Because now tomorrow I can go back to part 2 of reviewing 2 separate killers. Shouldn't take a long amount of time, a large amount of time. That'll give me time to work on a side project that I've been working on here. I started yesterday, and I've been working on it. I also need more time to do the Rocket League Part 2 of the analysis of that particular replay. I gotta get that done. I have a side project I'm working on. I have, oh man, the work that I'm working on. Plus, I have the reviews. So if I can knock these reviews out, hopefully nobody posts anything, or they post something I can go over quickly tomorrow. I can do the part 2 of the killer series in the same time slot as that. Immediately jump on to my part 2 of my Rocket League. Just keep working on the project that I'm working on, and then get all of that done and progress in all of them in one day. That's what I'm shooting for tomorrow. Time slots are going to be all kinds of jacked up. I'm just going to let you know now. I probably am not going to be on time for any type of schedule or anything like that. I just want to get things worked on. Which is why I've been later, because I've been spending too much time working on projects and things like that. And I've been staying up late trying to get things done, while also, having a decent amount of recreation and things like that. But thank you, Galanonim. Anybody else that stops by, looks at this particular video. Again, I'm not labeling it because it wasn't a very good session. It wasn't full of anything informative. It wasn't full of any detailed, things that, blow you away or anything like that. It's just another day essentially hanging out with Q. This would be another good time to start a project or something like that, or start a talking session, or give a lecture, or anything around there. I am, however, glad that it's only taken an hour and a half, because I now have time to do other things. So, yeah. Thanks for anybody stopping by. And as always, supplement your lifestyle, and I will see you next time. Peace. Peace.